Hey folks, Lisa Ziegler coming to you this warm afternoon here from southeastern Virginia from the Gardener's Workshop Farm, and glad you're here to join us for our ongoing cutting garden tutorial. So I'm just doing a little adjusting, y'all. I had to change my location just because the sun was peeking a little bit at us at the wrong place. So I hope everybody is doing well, and you know, it's finally summer in Virginia. You know, what was it, just a month ago I was belly aching about too cool to grow great flowers, great summer flowers, and here we are. I think we were 94 or 95 today, and it's a little humid, a little thick, but it grows these beauties. So I have a lot I want to share with you today, and we're going to take a look. I've kind of cut the garden clean. That's why there's so many flowers in here. Trying to recover from the Japanese beetle pressure and disease, and we're kind of on our way, I think. So we'll look at all that for just a minute. So I wanted to say that a lot of stuff is going on around here, all of which I won't bore you with all the details. But for one thing, for those of you that have been hanging out, you may have heard me mention that I was actually going to be taking Dave's course, Dave Dowling's Flower Farming School online, bulbs, perennials, woodies, and more. And it started on this past Friday morning. The first class was put in. And the funny thing is, this is why rereading books, rereading magazine articles that are full of information that help you, and rewatching online courses is such a great thing, is because every time you rewatch it, you're kind of in a different place. So you hear and gather and gain information that you didn't the last time. So of course, I had already watched Dave's course, reviewed it. I mean, I published the course, right? So I had already watched all of it. But my plan, so let me just back up for a second. I'm taking the course because, as many of you know, that we're kind of restructuring our farm here. We are coming off of being a high production flower farm, which we've been for over 20 years, to now downsizing and being more of a research educational garden, and we're becoming more diverse. And what that means is I am bringing back perennials, woodies, and bulbs into our mix, which I used to grow years ago, but when we went into high production, we went for the biggest bang for your buck, the most I could get out of every square inch of my small urban farm. So that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years for real. I mean, really high production, like 10 to 15,000 stems of flowers a week on an acre and a half, y'all, every week while in season. So I want to bring back bulbs and perennials, and I knew when I started trying to say, okay, what do I want to bring back? Well, it's so overwhelming, y'all. The choices are ridiculous of how many you have. And so I just decided that I was going to take Dave's course so I could make an educated selection. And so it's a very, very busy time of the year for us. Actually, I'm busy pretty year round, but in the summer, it's extra hard because I'm exhausted from heat. The heat just zaps the life out of you. So my plan, which I did today, I am happy to report, was that I was going to, instead of Steve and I, after usually what happens around here on Sundays is we don't work on Sundays typically. And so we go to church, and then we used to go to Steve's mom's house for lunch every Sunday. Well, we're obviously not doing that now, but we still have lunch. And after lunch, we just kind of crash and watch TV and literally end up falling asleep for 3 or 4 hours. Well, instead of doing that today, I didn't crash. I sat down and watched the whole first class of Dave's course. And I don't know how long that is. I guess it's a couple hours. And just to gain enough information that I can watch the Q&As and ask questions if I have them. And then I'll re-watch it in the fall, or actually in the winter, to get more information. But at least now I know what I want to order, how I'm going to plant it. You know what I mean? I got the nitty-gritty details, and I've already got 3 things on my list. And we'll be talking about that on our Flower Farm in School Facebook page. Anyway, totally stoked over going to school, and I'm just looking at my notes. I thought there was something else. Oh, the other thing I wanted to share with you is you can look back on our Facebook page. I want to just welcome, if we have any folks that haven't, this is your first time joining with us. I'm Lisa Mason Ziegler of the Gardener's Workshop Cut Flower Farm. And you can visit our website, thegardenersworkshop.com, and find a lot of stuff. A lot of blogs, a lot of videos. We have an online store that we sell all the seeds, tools, and supplies that I use and talk about, as well as our online courses. We have some that you can buy year-round that are available, and then we have some schools that have specific open registration dates. So you can check that out there. So the other thing I wanted to say was you can go to our website, and I actually tagged it on this Facebook at the top of this Facebook broadcast, just to our general website. And if you go there on the home page, you can sign up for our farm news, because that way we'll give you a little bing when something new content comes out, and also any specials or special offers, or we highlight and tell you how to use different stuff. This Tuesday, I just finished writing a blog yesterday about what I'm doing on Saturday mornings, and that is my time. I spend about an hour from 7 to 8 to 9, 1 to 2 hours, working in my new no-till research garden. We have an 80 by 9 bed, 80 feet long, 9 bed wide, no-till space that I've built after I have watched another one of our courses by Jonathan and Megan Lease, the no-till micro-scale flower farm. Because I'll be honest, really honest with you guys, I was a skeptic about no-till and what the real potential was of doing any kind of volume and actually doing it. And I'm pleasantly surprised. Anyway, I did a little Facebook Live yesterday morning from the garden showing what I did, and I came in and sat down and wrote a blog. I'm kind of writing about the journey and about the things that I'm discovering. And what I'm learning is that what I've learned in Jonathan and Megan's course, which is an on-demand course, by the way, you can buy that anytime, and July is kind of like our no-till month, and their course is on special. You can find it on our website. It's $40 off until July 15th, I believe it is. But what I'm finding is, even though maybe some of the things that you learn in that course you may not be applying right now in your garden to the way you're set up, but you figure out how to do other things. And I'm just really pleasantly surprised over how it's going. And anyway, I'm sharing that in that blog, so you can check that out, and that'll be coming out. It'll get posted probably sometime tomorrow, but it'll be featured in our email that goes out on Tuesday. So please sign up for our news. That way you won't miss anything. And I'd love to send that to you. So today I am, thought my chair was going to fall backwards. Kind of talking about the rest of the story with a cutting garden. And let's just review where we're coming from. And I'll back up in a minute and show you guys the garden. It looks like somebody that just got a new buzz, gone to boot camp and got their first haircut. I've cut it pretty hard, but we're going to talk about why I've done that and how that revitalizes your cutting garden. And I even cut some stuff that maybe there was a couple of zinnias in here that I probably would have left, like this one. But I wanted to get everything out of there. I'm trying to get rid of all that Japanese beetle damage. So let's just review where we've come from. So this little 3 by 10 foot garden that we're talking about is based on our seed collection, the Easy Cut Flower Garden, or no, it's called the Home Cutting. I didn't bring one out here. It's the Summer Cutting Garden. You can find it on our website. Go to the store, go to the seed collections, it's there. And I split that 3 by 10 garden in half, so I have 2 little 3 by 5 gardens. And where these gardens are placed here, in front of this sweet little, I don't want to move my tripod yet to show you because there's not much flat ground out here, y'all. I'll show you in just a moment. It frames the front of this really sweet potting shed that we have here. And it was totally grass, and we have really aggressive grass. We have Bermuda grass here. And so what I did not spray. I basically took a big piece of cardboard, or you could take multiple pieces and overlapped it, and I made 3 by 5 foot pieces, and then I put rocks on the edges to help hold the cardboard down and to build little walls, and then I literally filled this container I created. I went around and picked up all these containers sitting around our farm that weren't going to be planted this year and dumped that potting soil in here. And then I added new potting soil with about 50% compost and 50% potting soil. Then I added in dry organic fertilizer and mixed it all up. And then we planted transplants. You can, in fact, with that seed collection, plant seeds or transplants. You can go either way with these particular plants. But as a commercial grower, we always choose to go with plants because you get a quicker, better stand with less work. So we have been watching this grow. We got a late start this year because we had a really long, cool spring, like in really cold enough in April that we lost a lot of our peony buds and we lost a lot of our hydrangea blooms buds. And so it was pretty cold, so we got kind of a late start on it. Then, just as it started revving up, who arrives? Japanese beetles, the worst we've had in 20 years. And then in addition to that, I'm sorry I'm kind of lit up here, aren't the sun's kind of peeking through that tree. Then in addition to that, because of all the cool weather and the rain, which does not make for very happy, warm season tender annuals, which this garden is, disease set in a little bit earlier than it normally does, primarily mildew on the zinnias. All zinnias get mildew, and we always have it but we have it kind of at a moderate amount of it that we can manage, and we manage it through cutting the plants really hard and removing the foliage when we do that. So this little garden's been through the ringer, but I can already tell you we're going to have an awesome fall, I think. It's now dry. It hasn't rained here, I'm going to guess, 10 days, 10 or 14 days. And so I just hand watered this garden for the first time since it's been planted. I watered it when it was planted, and then I watered it today. Other than that, we've been really relying on rain. So I think because of this dry period, what that means is disease just kind of squashes and goes away. So I have really cut the garden down, and it's going to rally probably in 3 to 4 weeks. So what's going to happen now is we're still going to have some Facebook Lives, and I'll be making an announcement. We probably will not have this particular Facebook Live, but we're going to be moving into what you should be doing as far as planting now that I have. You can go to my blog and watch all of the past Home Cutting Garden Facebook Lives to see about cutting the garden and how we planted it, and then we mulched it, and then we netted it, and then where you make the cuts. And it'll be real visible to you today because I've cut it so clean. You can see how deep I cut it. Normally it wouldn't be this sparse if it hadn't been for Japanese beetles and disease. But it is going to regrow with a vengeance, and that means September, actually August and September will really be a really great month. I hear our hummingbird, he's back. He made a appearance, was it last week? I mean, he came right here and joined us. If he comes to these flowers, that will not be an unusual happening around here. When I was watering earlier, I had dragonflies and bees come into the water out of the hose sprayer. And so we're going to talk about that in a minute too. So I want to talk about if you're not experiencing disease and Japanese beetles and don't have to cut your garden back so hard, you're just going to be harvesting the flowers that are ready as they come ready in your garden. What I want to talk about is that you have got to stay on top of harvesting, you all. That's what keeps this garden alive. I recommend harvesting twice a week, We do it on Mondays and Thursdays, but it's whatever is good for you and works with when you need flowers. And by doing that, it just constantly keeps these flowers coming. And I will also mention again, I talked about this earlier, I do not fertilize zinnias beyond that fertilization that is put into the soil when we actually prepare the bed. Fertilizer also feeds mildew, so we don't actually fertilize the zinnias again. However, after I water well, you can come out here with a watering can with the dose of the Neptune's Harvest, which you can find on our website, the fish and seaweed, measure according to directions, and come out here and do what's called a soil drench. That just means pouring it on the soil, y'all, and feed everybody else in the bed except for the zinnias. They just don't need it, and you don't want to fuel the mildew issue at all. I never knew that until there is such great benefit, especially if you're a farmer, to having a relationship with your extension agents, and especially if you live near a university, to have them come to your farm and to ask for their assistance and to they'll walk around with you and look at stuff. That's where I learned about that the sugar and fertilizer, the food component, also feeds mildew. So I no longer do any feeding, and in fact, when I plant straight zinnia beds on this farm, after the spring planting, the further into the season, I don't even put organic fertilizer in because our soil is pretty rich and pretty heavy with nitrogen naturally because of the way we feed it with compost and cover crop. So that is just a really great tip. So you're going to continue to keep cutting this garden. This little garden will keep going right up until your first frost, y'all. I mean, you will just continue to reap the benefits. But I've made this little list here of things that I wanted to talk about. But I also wanted to say, I wanted you to remember that for the month of July, I am paying the shipping on all seed orders, excluding cover crop. So you can get we're trying to encourage people to get their cool flower seeds, the cool season hardy annuals that you'll be planting, many of us in the fall, but the rest of us will be planting again in very early spring, which turns out to be, like January, February, and March, to not only get your seeds, to think ahead, but also because so many people are planting cool flowers now, there is really a shortage of a lot of the favorite seeds. We're experiencing it as seed providers, and so you just have to kind of get ahead of it. And we thought by me paying the shipping on your seed orders, that might help you say, hey, I'm going to stop and do that. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention again. And we do still have, I have a table right next to me. I don't know why I'm not using it. And when everybody orders, we do still have some of our 2020 catalogs. And so I do know that we're down to, I think, anyway, they said we're coming close. I don't know what that means. But I know that we won't be having seed catalogs much longer. Every order gets a catalog, and we do still have in stock our Gardener's Workshop pins, which you can't really see that, can you? But we put one in every order. So get your July orders in and get your free seed packet shipping if you want to do that. And the other thing, what I'm going to talk to you about is, a minute ago when I was talking about how I was watering this garden and how so many insects were immediately drawn, I actually flooded in front of the inn where there's some perennials planted there, and I just left it running. Well, that kind of flooded the step, and when I came back here to turn it off, there were dragonflies and bees on the steps drinking. And so that just reminded me to remind you guys just how significant water is to the creatures that are living in our garden, which, by the way, are most of the insect controllers. Dragonflies eat more mosquitoes than any other creature. Purple martins, birds, any of them. So you want dragonflies in your garden, and they fly longer, and they are a big part of our insect control here. But putting water in your garden, it can be an upside down trash can lid. It does not have to be fancy. And also, I wanted to remind everybody that my book, Vegetables Love Flowers, which is all about a cutting garden, y'all. It's not about growing vegetables. It's about how a cutting garden benefits vegetables. It really has a lot of organic steps you can take to help your garden, and providing water and who that draws is all in there. And I have to tell y'all something. Guess what? It looks like, if we can come to an agreement, which I'm pretty sure I will, Vegetables Love Flowers is going to be published in the Netherlands, in Holland, in Dutch, a Dutch version. So I have a call with the Dutch publisher tomorrow morning, and won't that be like, I'm like so flattered of all the countries in the world to take Vegetables Love Flowers first, to be I mean, I just think of Holland as the gardening mecca of the world, and I was just so flattered. Anyway, I know you don't want a Dutch version, but Vegetables Love Flowers has a lot of great tips on things like why you need to have water in your garden and some different ways to do that. So I have cut this little garden really, really hard because of our disease pressure and the Japanese. We still have Japanese beetles, not nearly as bad, but they're still here, and I am frankly so busy now. I mean, I can't start but so early in the morning. I mean, it is daylight at 5 something, but I can't get myself out until 6. I mean, there's just other things I have to take care of too, you know, like walking my dog, exercising him in the morning. So I have laid off my Japanese beetle elimination program, which I also talk about in Vegetables Love Flowers, but it made a significant dip in our population. So I've already told you, to keep this garden going, you have to harvest often, and you have to harvest hard. You're going to see, I'm going to give you a close-up look at this little garden here. And I wanted to show you, first let me take a sip of this water. Y'all, you have to drink constant water. You can't drink enough water doing what we do. And it's really hard for me to take a breath and stop and do that. But I want to look at this little bucket of flowers that have been cut. And so the only thing in here that I didn't just cut is this coxcomb. None of the coxcomb was very big yet, but I just wanted to show you guys what a really beautiful coxcomb looks like. And this color is called red orange, which is not planted here. Actually, yellow is what I planted over here. And you can find this color on our website. But this is just such a great addition to bouquets, right? But what I really wanted to show you is what I do to basil. Remember how last week I showed you that there was too much basil. I'm really gonna have to cut a lot of it, and if I was just a home gardener, it would have been way more than I would have ever used. Which brings me to another point that I wanted to really remind everybody to do. Right now, this time of the year is the time to really get your 2021 calendar out, like in March, or actually maybe January, February. Whenever you order your summer seeds for next year is when you need to write this. And you need to jot down, what do you want to grow in your cutting garden next year, and what don't you want to grow? For instance, if I was a home gardener, what mine would say about this cutting garden is I would grow half as much basil because it is so blooming productive that I just don't need that much. And that I would add probably more giant zinnias. I mean, you can never have enough giant zinnias. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, another great thing that you could plug in to this little garden this time of the year that'll really perform well in the fall are cosmos. I actually have about 20 Cosmo transplants over. I do not grow cosmos commercially at all. They are not, I mean, they just don't last long enough. They are a real waste of space in a commercial garden unless you're doing weddings and that type of event work where You cut them, you make the bouquet, you use it for a day, and then it's history. But they really, really bring out the Sonata, I believe, is the variety that really is really comes on in as the days get shorter. So that would be another one to really add to this little cutting garden. But writing what's fresh on your mind right now. I mean, if you decide, I actually have 2 customers that come to our members only market. They can't even look at coxcomb. I mean, I think it's a little weird, y'all. But if that's you, then you need to figure out what you're gonna grow in that spot. I mean, personally, I'd grow more sunflowers, or actually, you know what I would grow if you're gonna eliminate something from this little seed collection, I would add plumes. Celosia plumes would be a great addition, and in fact, I think that I would grow half the coxcomb and put half plumes in here. So that is one thing that you definitely want to be thinking about right now, is to make those notes on that's the best place to write your information. I mean, no, I don't know if y'all do it, but I don't. I don't have time to sit down and go through journals or calendars to look back. I mean, I do that when I'm doing our big commercial calendar plan, but what I find is the best method for me, particularly in my home landscape, is to have a 2-year calendar. I always buy next year's calendar, those big block ones that you've heard me speak of before. Now the sun is really cooking me. Is to have those calendars and to write on that calendar when that job needs to be done, or when that seed needs to be ordered, or when those, like with this course with Dave's that I'm going through, I'm writing my little list of the bulbs that I want to add on probably mid-August. That's when I'm going to be placing my order, after I've had time to watch all of his classes and get my order in. So that's what you're going to be doing with this little bed, is to keep it cut it hard, and to keep harvesting it twice a week, and it's just going to keep on going. Soil drench everything except for the zinnias with liquid fertilizer to keep it going. If you need to mulch more, and if it's not raining, water it. Definitely have learned that water is what gives long stems and more of them, and bigger heads. So that is something that you really want to stick with. So the last thing that I really want to talk about, and then I'll look at what any questions that anybody has, is to consider adding a second 3x10 bed to your cutting garden, your home cutting garden. Because when you add a second one, that means that you can plant the cool season seed collection, which is called the Hardy Annual Spring Bloomin' Seed Collection. And this is made up of all the cool flowers that can be direct seeded in the garden. You do not have to start them inside. That sun is really blinding me, y'all. Let's see if I turn this way. Nope. So I'm just going to get up and walk over here because I can't hardly take it anymore. Let me hold this. Let me put this down, actually. Sorry, y'all. So I'll show you this so maybe you can actually see it. This is the Cool Season Hardy Annual, and it's got Agrostemma, Nigella, Calendula, the Iceland poppies, Larkspur, and Buplurum. All of these can be direct seeded, and they're pretty, now I don't want to say easy because I don't want to discourage anybody, but they're pretty good germinators. And it has the complete instructions in here on how to direct seed. And having a second 3x10 bed will really keep you in flowers. This is the garden that while you're waiting to plant this other garden, that is going to be coming up and blooming and carrying on. So this is really what is going to get you into kind of a 3-season cutting garden status. And I want to also remind everybody that vegetables love flowers actually takes you through the 3 seasons. It has demo diagrams in the back of how to succession plant, And that's exactly what having a second 3x10 garden is going to let you do. That lets you really become a 3-season gardener. Naturally, without doing heroics, these things are, you're planting what is actually, I think I can sit back down now maybe. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'm just going to move my chair while we just finish chit-chatting about this so I can look at my list. You know, it's like, did somebody cut a tree down or something? I'm still in the sun, but not nearly as bad as it was. So, let me get my little list here. All right, gang. So, what I just want to caution you about is there's two, I mentioned this in another broadcast somewhere, that there's 3 groups of people when it comes to cool season flowers. There are those people that are over eager and plant them too early. You have to remember that these are cool season lovers. You cannot plant them while it's still hot outside. People try to get started early, and in fact that just sets you up for failure. Then there's the people that plant way too late. And then there's the people that have really wrapped their head around the timing of cool flowers. Cool Flowers is the name of my book. And the book explains the concept. I did not make this up, y'all. Our grandmas used to do it. This used to be practiced wide and far. And then it kind of fell off of people's radar because of the awkward planting times, because retail nurseries just stopped having the plants available because nobody knew to buy them and plant them literally. And that's the quick and easy thing to think of. They just kind of went away. We're talking about bells of Ireland, sweet peas, Iceland poppies, larkspur, nigella. In the book, there's 30 flowers. And then there's a book study that goes along with the book, which is a video of me kind of connecting the dots. And if you're a flower farmer, there is a $20 online course called Cool Flowers Beyond the Book for Flower Farming, which takes the concept of the book, which is written for the home gardener, and applying it to flower farming, as well as adding some new cool flowers that I've started working with since the book was published. Embracing cool flowers allows you to have flowers earlier and flowers you've never grown before. And anybody can plant them in any zone. We have people in zone 3 and zone 4. These are people in northern Alberta, which is up in Canada where it is cold and freezing. So the thing about cool flowers is not everybody might not fall plant. Everybody can plant cool flowers, but we perhaps plant them at different times. And the equations will help you. And I see somebody just wrote, the book has a list of which flowers work well for each zone. There's a chart in the back. It's true. There's a cheat sheet in the back. And I am the next series of Facebook Lives that I'm going to be doing is going to be about cool flowers. I understand the difficulty people have wrapping their heads around. But cool flowers, even though that was published 6 years ago, we sell more cool flower books sell now than they ever have because people are finally understanding and getting the concept and realizing it's for everybody everywhere. It's just that we all plant at different times, and you have to find your sweet spot, and I'm going to help you do that. So I'm telling you, so A, you can get your seeds during free seed shipping, and I do pay the shipping on seed collections. You can get your seeds, wrap your head around what your plan is going to be, but for most of us, it is not time to plant yet, but you can start thinking about it and getting your bed ready. And so we have to take a look at the bed now. So let me just look at my list and make sure I've told you everything. So, I know what I want to show you. So, and then we're going to get up and look at this. So remember we had so much basil last week. So this is the basil. I mean, this is the longest basil, right? This is Miss Burns Lemon, which comes in that seed collection. And I just want to say that I don't like these. This is the blooms that are done and they're elongated, and I see so many people leaving them on when they make bouquets, and it is such a personal decision but I'm here to tell you what my personal decision is, and it's to cut them off. They look very weedy to me. And the last thing a flower farmer wants is for somebody to look at their bouquet and to think, oh, that looks weedy or that looks wildflowerish. And when people say wildflowerish, they're talking about unruliness. And that is not what I want my flowers to do. Also, anything you can eliminate off of basil helps it to last longer. So what I do, can you see where I'm getting ready to cut? And what this does, when it's in a bouquet, you can't even really tell. So now all of a sudden, I have this great foliage without those long pointy things. And I was trying to see if there was one in here. Here's one that's younger. No. Trying to find one. See, this is what it looked like kind of before it got to that stage. And I'm really okay with that because that's not very long. But when you start getting, like, look at this one. I mean, I can't hardly stand. Suzanne doesn't mind them, but I cut them off out of her bouquets. It's kind of a little sister thing we have going on. So look at all this. Look how long they are. I mean, it just takes so much away from the bouquet. So it's perfectly okay to do this. This is why I'm showing you how I do it. And when you do that, you lighten the load on the stem, and now all of a sudden you have this great foliage that'll take up wonderful space in your bouquet, being a filler, right? So I just wanted to share that when you have basil that has gone too long, I mean, you would love it when it's like this, really, really short, but it gets away from you because we planted too much, right? So I'm going to stand up here and let us take a look at this bed. This sun is terrible tonight. I'm going to turn you around. So here we are. And there's not much left in those cutting garden beds. So for people that are just joining us, welcome. I am Lisa Ziegler with the Gardener's Workshop, urban farm located in southeastern Virginia. And this has been our tutorial for what you're looking at is the 3x10 garden split in two. It's a 3x5 on each side so it can frame this sweet little potting shed. A lot of photo opportunity here. So what has happened is this week I have cut back the garden really hard because of all of our Japanese beetle and disease damage. And so it looks a little spindly, but we're going to have a little close-up look. And this is the flowers, all except for this red coxcomb. This did not come out of this garden. All of this came out of this little garden, our little Oklahoma zinnias and our bigger giant ones. And so I cut it for it to be revived. And so let's just have a look. Let me make this a little shorter so I can hold y'all a little better. And I'm going to look at the questions in just a minute, y'all, and I'll answer them for you. So you can see where I stripped here earlier. And so I have cut pretty much everything back that had some damage, although I did leave a little bit of damage right there, but that's okay. So this is just really going to show you where I make the cut. Look at this. Looks like, a monster went through here. She did. And so this is the coxcomb. And look at all the little shoots that will go on to develop and grow up to be strong, straight stems, right? Like here's one. That's a shoot. The basil is really a great example. I'm going to pull this one off because he's growing the wrong way. But look at all of those. Those are all little shoots that are going to grow up. And look at these. See, this plant was one of the first ones that we cut. And look at all of these little shoots. So my decision for next year is that I'm planting half as much basil because they are just so very, very productive. And we still have mildew over here, but I didn't cut all of the foliage back. but we have good foliage on the top, and we're just going to see what happens over here. So this garden is netted. As you can see the netting a lot better now. See, it's here. And we've actually are discontinuing the green and going back to the white for a lot of reasons, just easier to use. So we do still have some in stock. If you want green netting, you need to grab that. However, I'm not paying the shipping on netting, just seeds. So this little garden has just been cut really, really hard. And there's our perennial Heliopsis that lives here in front of our building. So this little garden, probably in 2 to 3 weeks, will be just regrown. This is what I do when we face disease. You know what I'm getting ready to do in our big commercial garden, because the Japanese beetles have obliterated some of the zinnia beds. If I can get the netting off, which I think I can when I get some help, I'm going to bush hog it at about 12 or 18 inches tall, and it'll do the same thing this garden will. It'll regrow like crazy. And that's how we overcome disease here, y'all. Once I heard a very well-known organic rose grower, this was years ago before I was even a farmer. Actually, I saw it in a magazine. And I can just remember her saying, when the Japanese beetles come, I think she was in South Carolina or somewhere, she lived in a very challenging environment to grow roses, that when the Japanese beetles came, she cut all of her roses back to 12 inches tall. And by the time they regrew, the Japanese beetles were gone and they were gorgeous. And she would have a wonderful late summer, fall harvest like nobody's tomorrow. And I've just always remembered that. And I apply that to my whole cutting garden. If I get a bad disease or pest issue, I just cut it down and let it regrow. I mean, what have you have to lose, right? The plant's useless with all that pest damage. So that is my method of madness. And in doubt, cut it down at the ground level, just about at ground level like we just looked at over there, and go for it. And I'm going to go sit somewhere where there's not sunlight. I'm taking my water, and there's a pen. Wait a minute, y'all. I'm going to go over here and sit and look at your questions. So the cutting garden, to be continued once she regrows, but I'm going to walk over here and sit on this little bench right here in the shade and hope that there's nothing underneath this bench that's gonna bite me. All right, so y'all are looking, that's my peony head y'all are looking at there. While I undo this. Stand by, y'all. We have so much going on around here, right? Let me turn this around. All right, so I still can you believe the sun is now peeking through over there? Unbelievable. So the days are changing. It was light here at 10 minutes to 9 the other night. So it is really, really long days right now. So I'm going to look at your questions now, but I just want to tell you a couple other things. So I'm really excited about having a Zoom meeting with the Dutch publishing company tomorrow to see how we can work that out to have Vegetables Love Flowers published, a Dutch version, which is really kind of amazing. I just can't even believe that. What else is happening? We've also have a new headquarters for the Gardener's Workshop. We bought a building for our warehouse to be in. It's only about 3 miles from my home here. And that'll be happening probably in the next month. And that'll be so awesome. There'll be a lot of opportunity. And the other thing I wanted to say was, if there's anybody local on here, we are looking to add a gardener to our team here. And You don't have to have any knowledge. We do on-job training, except that you have to be a hard worker. We don't ask anybody to do anything that we haven't done or don't do, but we really need help maintaining and keeping up the vegetable patch and the native border and our cutting garden. So if you know of anybody, I'm in Newport News, Virginia, that's looking for a part-time job. It's Mondays and Thursdays, early in the morning. We knock off at 2. Go to our, I'll post it again on social media. We have a page. We're looking for little short videos from people. You can post a private video on Instagram or Vimeo. Just tell us why you want to work here and what you think about coming here and having a job. So we're looking for a special person that just really wants to be a part of what we're doing here. So let me look back at questions. I'm going to bring you in a little closer actually so I can see better. So I'm looking at questions. So hey everybody. And oh, you're welcome, Marianne. Oh, bluebirds. We love our bluebirds. Very hot in Nevada. Yeah, gosh. I know we're hot here. We're hot and humid, but I know y'all are even hotter out there. So Leslie must be taking Dave's course. And, oh my gosh, Dave, as I was sitting there watching his course this afternoon, first off, I was thinking about another course he should do, but he is just... There's nothing you can ask Dave Dowling about flower growing and farming that he can't answer. He just has so much experience and wisdom. It's just oozing out of him in that course. I agree completely. Any chance you'll share infos with those of us who have already taken his course? I would love to know what you're thinking and ordering. Well, I'll tell you, Susan, that I am looking for surefire, easy, low cost bulbs to add in. Like, I'm not interested in tulips. I'd say that. I might grow a few tulips. But I'm looking to add some alliums, which I used to grow those, and they are really very prolific, and voles don't tend to eat them, and neither do the deer. And some acidantra. I mean, anyway, so I'll share that once the end of class is over of what I'm gonna actually be growing, because I know I'm gonna overfill my space. Isn't that always what the problem is? We want to add too much. All right, so let's see here. Oh, thank you, Janet, about Holland. And I thought I saw a question. Oh, can you do cool flowers in Zone 6B? And I think I already answered that everybody, yeah, there's a lot you can fall plant in 6B. So, Janie, if you don't have it, you should get the book, Cool Flowers. It doesn't matter where you buy it. You can get the free book study off of my website. Go to thegardenersworkshop.com. I'd be happy to send you a signed copy. We give free shipping on books, and I sign them. And on the book page where you buy the book, it says claim your free book study. It doesn't matter if you buy it from another big book supplier, you can still get the book study from us. So be sure and get that and watch the 2 of them. And if you're farming, then you ought to do the online course, Cool Flowers Beyond the Book. And there's really a lot that you will benefit from. So thank you guys for talking about it. Susan, I shared 9 large bouquets of cool flowers with church families this week, thanks to your classes. You know, we have a lot of flowers right now. I mean, you know, I don't really sell that much commercially anymore like I used to. I mean, we used to sell 23 florists, 2 supermarket chains. We have 2 on-farm private markets for members only. And we pretty much just do those members only markets. And I have a lot of extra flowers, and I was just thinking today that I needed to drop them off on people's porches, because there is nothing like sharing your flowers with people, y'all. It is just such a great feeling. It's still so valuable. I read it several times and still use it as reference. You know, Betsy, thank you for saying that, because you want to know the truth? that when it's direct seeding time out in the garden for cool flowers in the fall, I have my book out there. I never can remember, does it get covered with soil or doesn't? I always get Bupleurum and Bells of Ireland confused, so totally. Oh, Becky just ordered her dragons for 2021. Dragons are our new specialty mix of snapdragons that are so fabulous, you guys. And we now have jumbo packs. And there's 4 different mixes. One's whites, one's yellows, one's pinks, and one's called sunset, as it is a mix of corals and oranges. And it is up to 13 different varieties and shades. And they are so gorgeous. They're just luscious. And it also keeps you from having to buy a bunch of different colors. I've put them all in one mix of that color family. Because as a commercial grower, we're always looking to have color groups. And it just makes it easier for making bouquets or whatever you're doing, or your favorite color too, right? So check that out. Is the lemon basil less wilty when more maturely harvested? You know, Sarah, I hear people talk about that. I harvest it really early and late, and it might be not quite as wilty when it's not as fleshy, but if you strip it hard enough, I love the way it looks when it's immature. It's greener, doesn't have those big flower heads, and we have great success with it. If you're going to a farmer's market, not so good. But if you are making for your home or making them and, not leaving them sit outside, they usually do okay. But yeah, they might hold up better when they're a little more mature, when the stem's woodier. Question, Rudbeckia Prairie Sun, would you treat it as an annual or perennial? Nope, it's definitely a hardy annual. The problem with a lot of the Rudbeckias, that would be Indian Summer, Goldilocks, Prairie Sun, all of them are what I refer to as a half-hardy perennial. That means that they just don't survive long enough. They die out. And we did a trial one year, and we had less than 25% actually make it through winter, whether it was disease or weather issues. And then you have a bed that has got spotty Rudbeckias all over it. Then what do, right? So it's just easier. We just replant them every fall. I have reseeding Rudbeckia habitat islands, I call them, here on our farm, and I do cut from them, but we still plant a small portion. Prairie Sun is not a strong reseeder too, by the way. We plant a small splotch of Prairie Sun, Goldilocks, and so I have it no matter what. So no, we treat them as hardy annuals. So I wished you all lived in Virginia too, y'all. Yeah, Dave is just amazing. How do I keep branching sunflowers from drooping once cut? You're not going to like my answer, Penny. Don't grow them. Branching sunflowers are not historically good cut flowers. People try all the time, and I did. I was there because there's some really cool colors and stuff, but they just typically do not hold up, particularly in a commercial setting. They don't hold up. They drop their petals prematurely, and they have soft necks. So that's why we grow Pro Cuts, and even some of the Pro Cut colors aren't as strong as the others, but they're still the strongest. So you can't keep them from drooping. It's the plant, not anything you're doing. Thank you so much. The zinnia seeds I purchased from you are producing beautiful flowers. I am so happy to hear that, Marion. Oh, hi, Rachel must be in Dave's class. Yep, I'm in there. Cool flowers change the way I grow. Cool flowers saved me this spring. Buy the book, you won't be sorry. Thank you, Janet. Why are my newly planted zinnias getting a lime green stripe in the leaf? Also, the leaves curling and not opening up. That could be a pest or nutrition. I would suspect a pests. I'm not a pest person, but I'm telling you, take pictures, good, clear, close-up pictures, and send it to your extension agent. Call down there and ask them, do you have master gardeners? or agents that can identify a potential disease or pest problem, and they'll tell you what to do. That's our tax dollars at work, y'all. So few people take advantage of that. Why guess? Get a definitive diagnosis. Lisa, do you have students from Northern Florida? Yes. Is there a way to connect with your disciples in your zone? So, Juliet, if you are in flower farming, if you've taken my course or Dave's course, all you have to do is on the closed Facebook group that is for that course to say, this is where I live. And yes, I know that Jonalyn lives in Northern Florida. We have several people that are Floridians. So that would be the way to do it. You can post it on our Facebook page. That's the best way to do that. Kim, yes, the new dragon mixes are gorgeous. Delma's watching, and Delma, a little bird told me that it's your 70th wedding anniversary this coming weekend. I wish you and Alfred the very, very best, and we love and miss you guys so much. All right, so let's see what else we have here. So that looks like all the questions, guys. So I am going to, oh, look, it's almost just 5 minutes to 8. So, gang, I am just thinking, it's really nice now the shade comes. So maybe I'll have to do my Facebook Lives late. So I will be putting out when our Cool Flower Facebook Lives will start, and I haven't decided what the focus is going to be. If it's going to be a home garden, I think it's probably going to be maybe the Hardy Annual Cool Season seed collection, just like we've just done for the warm season. So be planting that in your thing. Don't forget that Jonathan and Megan's no-till course is on special until the 15th. So I think that's this week. That's why I'm doing the blog on Tuesday. So get in and get that if that interests you before the special goes off. So thank you guys so much. Until we meet again, thegardenersworkshop.com. You can find all you need for gardening and flower farming. Ciao.